Hello, thank you, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Science of Mind. As mentioned before, it is the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought. This is about how our thinking shapes our lives. He said, Dr. Holmes, who is the author of The Science of Mind and the founder of religious science, he says it is the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought. It is a correlation of the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelation of religion applied to human need. Remember that, applied to human need and aspirations of humankind. End of quote. So today, we are going to talk about experiencing change. That's our topic today. Spirituality is natural goodness, Dr. Holmes says. Spirituality is natural goodness. God is not a person. God is a presence personified in us. Spirituality is not a thing. It is the atmosphere of God's presence, goodness, truth, and beauty. End of quote. Now, I think that's the best definition of spirituality I've ever heard in my whole life. And I've been here longer than anybody on the screen. Anyway, spirituality is not necessarily about the physical body that you might choose to put yourself in, like sitting at the Gandhis, like sitting with your legs crossed, like holding your fingers up like that. Those are just ways in which it helps your mind to focus on what you are really thinking, believing, and knowing. Spirituality is natural goodness. Knowing that God is not a person, but God is a presence. I am so grateful that I know that God is not a person, because persons have very easy ways of getting turned on and turned off. And God never gets turned off. God is always turned on. So today, in an additional reading to what you've heard from Gary, I want to read from you the next page, 491. And it goes like this. We do not look at things which are seen as being eternal. Behind the visible and changeable is the changeless reality, the eternal one working in time and space for the expression of life of itself. The divine ideas stand back of all human thought, seeking admittance through the doorway of our mind. God's ideas, attributes are eternal and cannot be changed. In change is the changeless. In time is the eternal and timeless. In things, the Creator manifests his power and glory forevermore. End of reading there. See, every time we change or change occurs in our lives, something divine is about to give birth. You ever thought about that? Every time we change or a change occurs in our lives, something divine is about to give birth in our lives. Now you're going to ask me, how does that apply to all the changes that are taking place right now? That applies, because as we go along this morning, you will discover that change can help you to realize your spiritual magnificence. There was a time in my ministry I had to perform 2 memorial services in the same week. I remember in both cases what was shared. What was shared was the legacy of those who passed, something that was taught or learned by those who were left through the lives of those who passed. that was significant because those people who passed made a difference in the lives of those who left. And to acknowledge that, to realize that, in the pain of the sense of loss, their lives somehow was enhanced, not just by the passing, but what those who passed left. So those lives were significant in the lives of those who were left. So in the realization of the knowledge gained through another's life becomes a celebration, and it is really all about change. Our topic, experiencing change. How are you experiencing change right now? Some people say, I'm tired of being locked up. I'm tired of being the social separations, social distancing. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of all of those things. Worse than that is what just happened in Minneapolis, the killing of an innocent Black man, the killing of another life, the taking of another life on planet Earth, deliberately, consciously. How do you excuse that? You don't. You know, life is made up of a series of selection and consequences. So nothing goes unnoticed by nature, by the laws of being, by the invisible, immutable laws that are operating all the time. In the realization of the knowledge gained as we grow older, as we live a conscious life, we are able to understand things. Transformation occurs as a result of embodied information dispersed internally. I said embodied information. A lot of us have information that we have not embodied. That means that we have not really taken it in. It has no specific conscious, we're not conscious of the significance it has made and the difference it has made in our lives. Transformation occurs as a result of embodied information dispersed internally. Yes, that's the way it works. A whole new dynamic regime is ignited. In other words, you get a new sense of how you govern your life. You get a new sense, something new, a new direction has taken place as a result of the awakening through circumstances, through experiences, through paying attention to your feelings about change. I will continue along that line so that you will be strengthened in the way you deal with change. Something good kicks in for all of us when we experience change and we become conscious of what is happening inside of us, not what is happening outside of us. Because what's happening outside of us, I will tell you, it is passing. It is a manifestation. What's happening inside of you becomes part of your existence. You see something, you hear something, you meet someone, things like that. There is something perfect inside of all of us that is continually and consciously watchful, trying to right itself. So when we fall off the trail, something tries to right itself. Whenever we fall off the wagon, so to speak, people experience things, and it keeps, you hear people saying, God is watching over me. My angel is working with me, etc. One might ask, what do I do with the awful tragedy that took place? And I mentioned it before. Dana Zoe says this: the basic physics of living systems is a propensity, a physical impulse to be creative, to evolve, to change. Nothing happens that we recognize and pay attention to is by accident. even though it appears that way. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel the sorrow. You shouldn't feel the compassion for those who grieve and those who fears a deep loss. But that feeling, that change that takes place in us taps into our spiritual significance. That's why we can feel compassion. That's why we can reach out to people. That's why we can feel that we need to do better. Something bigger is trying to express itself through us. No matter what is going on in one's life, if one is open to divine ideas, I can choose to live so that my consciousness becomes the doorway to divine ideas. Are you going to welcome your life to open your door to divine ideas? I think I'm going to advise that you say yes, because we need more divine ideas to manage not only the experiences of life in the temporal sense, but to awaken to our spiritual significance, to awaken to something inside of us that is greater than anything outside of us. You know, Dr. Holmes says, what's in you is greater than that which you seek to change. Meaning that what you're trying to change outside, what's in you is far greater than that. So all we need to do is to have the wisdom to be able to see that change taking place in yourself without you having to try to go out there and try to manipulate things around. Because moving the chairs around did not stop the Titanic from going down. So if the Titanic is going down, don't try to save a chair. Don't try to save a bed that you were resting in at the time. Don't try to save something that seems valuable to you. What you want to do is recognize that you can swim and you're the best swimmer in the world. And you're never going to die of that sinking of a material thing. That's the realization I'm talking about. People who live this way actually celebrate change. What a special time we are faced with right now to begin to practice that. We are called to be a presence in the world. You don't have to have a religion. You don't have to have someone to follow. You need to recognize the truth about you. You're a spiritual being without religion, without religious connection. Those perhaps help. In some cases, they hinder. Thank God for the science of mind, and it teaches us how to be free, to grow. But what's inside of you, if you would remember, is greater than that which is outside of you. We are really in partnership with God, the great creator. You see, everything is there for us to see inside of us what our response is. And we are here to respond in a way that not only helps us, but helps the rest of the world to begin to discover their spiritual magnificence. In the Bible, it says, "Thou art the potter, I am the clay." We are in partnership with God. Each one of us has an important, even vital part to leave, to develop for the next generation of the world. And the good news is we can decide what that is going to be. There is no predestination. You get to decide what you make of your life and what you're going to eventually leave for those who come after you, because we are here to pass. This is just a bus stop, as I mentioned before. We are passing. If you look in the Bible, it says, "And it came to pass." That's most of the major sayings says it came to pass before it said. after COVID-19 is properly controlled and defeated, where do you stand? What power did you gain from all of this? How are you going to get back into so-called the new normal, a normal, any normal? How are you going to come back? Are you going to come back weaker or stronger? Are you going to come back with a realization of your true spiritual significance, or are you going to come back as one defeated and wasted? You get to decide that. I'm here to tell you, you're here to bring the best forward, because that's why change takes place. If we learn how to experience change, we don't let it kill us. We don't let it make us less than. It increases who we are. Why? Because it helps us to go deeper into our true spiritual significance. The magnificence of our spiritual nature cannot be tarnished by anything on the physical plane. Everything on the physical plane is transient. You are here as an eternal being, having a human experience. You know, I think God would be bored to death if we did not change. If God can be bored or cause something to change for the better, God would really love to express you in that way, through you. You know, a very famous saying is, in the beginning, God created. You know what that speaks of? It doesn't speak of time. It speaks of process. It's not about the time. It's about the process. We are always being created. We are always creating. Change comes not to frighten us, but to awaken us to our spiritual magnificence. I invite you to think about that, because when you awaken to that, you become so empowered that nothing externally can make you feel less, but only increase your understanding of your spiritual nature, which empowers you, which allows you to be in charge of you. There's no need to be afraid of change. Fear, we know what fear does? It stunts growth. Fear stunts awakening. Fear stunts progress. Fear of the unknown holds us back from discovering, out of what is taking place, our opportunity for our next most effective step. Change is not the boogeyman. Change is the building man. A bud that needs to mature, that needs to unfold like a beautiful rose, that needs to be released into its beauty. Change is really beauty, taking place, unfolding. The common denominator in change, you know what's the common denominator in change? You. How you experience it, how you deal with it, how you deal with you in it. Welcome it. Talk to it. Ask it what's its message to you. Celebrate the message. Make it your friend. It is your invisible divinity becoming visible. That's what happens. It is the best of you trying to make its advent. Be excited when you feel change building up, bubbling up to the surface of your mind. Something divine wants to become revealed. That way you can be the beneficial presence in the world. Be the difference in the world. If you want to see something, be that something, and it will happen. Because that's the first place it happens. with you. If you want to see something happen, make it happen. See it happening in you. And that's where it begins. You know what? I love every one of you. And I am just knowing for you that the best is still in the next moment. It always gets better. Every moment takes you to a higher place of, a clearer place of understanding, a clearer place of recognizing that spiritual significance within you that's seeking to reveal itself. It's like a big light that wants to be turned on in the darkness so that you do not have to stump your toe anymore. There's no boogeyman. There's a building person, a building man. There's no boogeyman. There's a wonderful building person inside of you. Next week, we're going to meet the same time, same place, same station, right here. And I look forward to being with you then, too. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being present here this morning. Give yourself the credit that you made a decision to do this. No one forced you into it. You decided this for yourself. Think about that. How do you feel? How are you feeling right now? You know who gave you that permission? You did. You did. You're empowered. You're empowered to do the best you can and to be the best you can. So I thank you for listening again, and I'm so grateful to be able to share time with you. All right, well, let's close our eyes. And what we have is a ministry, it's a prayer, and it's called Spiritual Mind Treatment, because it treats our mind in a way that allows us to connect with the oneness that we are, forgetting that God is present right here. Go close your eyes and silently repeat this prayer to yourself. Let my words be your words. Let my prayer be your prayer. We are doing it now for each other, one-on-one, and yet everyone at the same time. Let us begin. I know there is only one mind. That mind is God, God mind, divine mind, infinite mind, infinite knowingness, unconditional love, total knowledge, omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. This presence we call God, we call spirit, we call divine mind, we call the divine, and many other ways and terms we refer to this one presence. I know that this one presence is the original life, the life of all life. It is the being of all beings. And it is present here right now, right where I am. God is, because God is omnipresent. God cannot be absent, even when I am unconscious of it. God is always present because God's nature is to be present everywhere, all the time, at the same time, in the same amount. This is the wonder of omnipresence. Now we are made in the image and likeness of God. I am made in the image and likeness of God. Each of us is made in the image and likeness of God. The image and likeness means that what is godlike exists in me. The power, the life, the power of my word, as the power of God's word was to create life, planet Earth, and all the other beautiful, wonderful planets, stars, the universe. All of this came out of the Word of God, the presence of God manifesting itself. I have that power to declare about my life. And knowing that truth, I declare that my life is whole, perfect, and complete right now. That I am in perfect health. That I am strong, healthy, and I have a strong vitality of life radiating through my physical body. Every organ, every action, every function moves to that rhythm. Physically, intellectually, I am whole, complete, perfect. Mentally, whole, complete, and perfect. Spiritually, as pure as the presence of God itself. Now, because I know this is true about myself, I know it is true about every human being. I know it is true about everyone attending this service this morning. Every one of us who recognizes and owns that up has the experience. So now we have the power to declare our lives into form. I give thanks for that power. I give thanks for the declaration of goodness in my life and in the lives of those who so desire and open to receive. Open the door. Allow that to come into your life. I give thanks for that power and for the presence of good that is already not only on its way, but has entered the doorway into my personal home, my experience, my physical sense of who I am. So I release these words knowing that it's done through the law, that immutable law, that law of God, that law of cause and effect, that invisible law that always is waiting to act upon my word, my thoughts, my intentions. It never takes a break. It never goes to sleep. It never is unconscious of my presence. It is always conscious of my presence and act out of its power to create on my behalf. I release it to that power, knowing already that all is well. I am so happy and thankful and grateful for these words. And so it is. Amen. Breathe that in and make it your own. Now, before we dismiss, I want you should keep yourself mute so that you don't disturb anybody else. So here's the affirmation. Today, I am open to the constant awareness of where I am and to the awakening of where I want to be. This awakening energizes my creative activity and the power of spirit to move me toward the first attention of my dream. And so I let it be, and so it is. Now, declare in your mind, something wonderful is happening to me right now. It is this thing called life. Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in my affairs. I receive it. I share it. I am it, and I accept it, just the way that it is, and just the way that it is not. Thank you, life. And so it is. Namaste.